What's going to happen to us as AI takes over and we transition to a new technological economy? As AI barrels ahead and looks to consume more of the job market, our jobs will change, allowing us to do more. Many of us will need to figure out how to make the money we need to cover basic expenses, but also to ensure we've got something to do. No one really wants endless time with no purpose. Things start to go awry when time sits heavy. One possible solution is universal basic income, a social concept that dates back all the way to Roman times. Historian Rutger Bregman explains what this could mean for society.
Poverty is not a lack of character. Poverty is a lack of cash. The big question is, of course, what can be done? Basic income guarantee. It's a monthly grant, enough to pay for your basic needs: food, shelter, education. And it didn't take long before I stumbled upon the story of a town that had done it, had actually eradicated poverty. This story starts in Dauphin, Canada. In 1974, everybody in this small town was guaranteed a basic income. The experiment had been a resounding success. The school performance of kids improved substantially. The hospitalization rate decreased 8.5%. Domestic violence incidents were down, as were mental health complaints. And people didn't quit their jobs. Similar results have since been found in countless other experiments around the globe. But let's talk about the elephant in the room. How could we ever afford a basic income guarantee? What they did in Dauphin is they financed it with a negative income tax. And this means that your income is topped up as soon as you fall below the poverty line. And in that scenario, according to our economist best estimates, for a net cost of $175 billion, a quarter of US military spending, 1% of GDP, you could lift all impoverished Americans above the poverty line. And basic income is so much more than just another policy. It is also a complete rethink of what work actually is. And in that sense, it will not only free the poor, but also the rest of us.
What is work? What should it be? A duty? A pleasure? A joy even? How can we feel free and have a job? Millions of people have never had sufficient time to take a breath, let alone play with their kids or take some much-needed time off. Having basic needs met by UBI could afford small luxuries to the most squeezed demographics. UBI could help curb the widening divide between rich and poor, easing pressure and stress across the board. Workers would worry less, love more, perhaps even work harder at something meaningful, and have the opportunity to explore their worlds with a previously unconceived confidence. Gagogo Altrade, host of Cold Fusion YouTube channel, shares his thoughts.
Every single person can be insured a minimum living standard. So why is this better than the current welfare solution? Firstly, let's look at someone living on welfare. If that person was paid $1,000 per month by the state for being unemployed, it may incentivize them to not seek employment, as their welfare payment would decrease or be taken away completely once they've started earning money from the job. Say they found a job paying $2,000 a month. Depending on the program and the country, they may lose their $1,000 welfare payment entirely, and hence might only be $1,000 better off than they were on welfare. Now let's suppose that this same person was receiving $1,000 under UBI. Well, if they accepted that $2,000 job, this person would now be exactly $2,000 better off than when they were unemployed and on welfare. Of course, there are different and more complex examples of welfare systems that attempt to curb this disincentive, but overall, this is one argument for UBI. It may help incentivize the lowest income groups to work, improving their situation and the economy as a whole. However, the argument then follows that people who are inherently lazy and unmotivated to work will be given an excuse to keep being the way that they are. But it can also be said that this is negligible compared to the increase in productivity that we'll have from automation and AI. But then again, it's in people's human nature to not just survive but live comfortably, maybe a better education for their kids, a bigger car or a bigger house. There are more motivations to work than simply covering the necessities, and this is what UBI aims to address.
There's no way for people to compete with machines when it comes to efficiency, productivity, and pure profit. And while capitalism is a profit-driven behemoth, all the money in the world really can't do much about a life without meaning. So, who wins in the battle of life? And does this set us up for laziness or opportunity? This will depend on where each person places value. Humanity has accelerated to a standard of living matched with a humming economy that requires continued churning and effort. But as we zero in on a new gold standard, where all people can provide for themselves and their families, we let go of fear and adopt freedom instead. Former U.S. Secretary of Labor Robert Reich explains.
It is inevitable that we are going to have some sort of a universal basic income. There will be a lot of casualties in terms of workers. We're going to see more professional workers who are actually going to be losing their jobs because AI can do those jobs at least as well as they can and far more efficiently. And it's going to have tremendous social and political implications. This isn't the working class anymore. We're now talking about the middle class in America. And if you've got AI and you've got people who are basically no longer needed, then how do you get money in their pockets to buy everything the economy is capable of producing? You simply can't have an economy under those circumstances. All of the labor protections of the last 120 years, AI could eradicate all of them. And so you have basically the owners and investors over here, all the rest of us over here.
Is this our new path? Where is humanity going in the big sense? And what are we really doing here? As we wrap our heads around this groundbreaking, mind-bending shift in the economy and what it means for our collective day-to-day, perhaps it's as simple as making the jump from working to live to living for life and putting effort towards discovering the true meaning of human existence. Now that's a comforting thought, to focus on living instead of working.